Have you ever seen a tropical ulcer? I mean, even when I had a tropical ulcer, it was a wound on its way to becoming an ulcer, not a full-scale ulcer. Now, when you think ulcer, you may be thinking of a stomach ailment, but tropical ulcers are a whole nother animal. You see, it starts with this small scratch, but the sore persists and it's infected with microorganisms. Now, my microorganism of choice was coral. After a while, the infection sets in, it begins to erode muscle and tendons and eventually bones, and at this point, the cure is amputation. Now, what does a tropical ulcer look like? Well, picture a moon crater, and then fill it with pus and blood and ooze, and the pus is yellow-green color of infection, and it smells. So, there's your tropical ulcer. So, one day I was at Martha's house in the village of Anguna, and I heard some people call out. And I look outside, and it looks like there's a cluster of sick people there. Now, the nearest clinic is the 8 to 12 hours hike. And so a lot of people come to Martha's house to get medical care instead, and as I was there, they came to me so that we didn't need to disrupt Martha from her work. Now, when I saw these people, I went to go grab a thermometer and a stopwatch, because we have a technique in the bush, and this is the technique. We take their temperature, and then we check their respiratory rate, and if they have a fever, then they have malaria, and we give them chloroquine. And if they have respiratory distress, they have pneumonia, and we give them amoxicillin. I know, you're aghast, but that's the best that we can do in Papua New Guinea. And haters can get medical training and go to the jungle. And until then, the people of Papua New Guinea are going to be living off of amoxicillin and chloroquine. Well, I suppose haters, if they wanted to, could also pay for my better medical training, and that would be another option. Okay, anyway, so I go down and I take care of a number of medical issues while I was there, and then my eyes fall on this kid. He's the last one who needs medical help, and his foot is wrapped in layers of leaves and dirty linens. So I think to myself, okay, so I've got a wound, and we're going to need to wash it, bandage it, and then give amoxicillin depending on how severe the wound is. And so I go up on top and I grab gloves and Dettol and hot water and cotton balls and a Band-Aid. Now, in Papua New Guinea, they have these awesome Band-Aids. They're like Band-Aids, like the regular, just stick them on Band-Aids, but they're called Tiger Plast, and they'll stay on for the rest of your life if that's where you wanted it, and for how long. So I go up and grab these items, and I come back down, and at this point, the kid has unwrapped his wound, and it is a gaping tropical ulcer. Now, this is the first time I had seen one up close and personal, and I could have lived without the experience. But there I am, and this kid has this huge tropical ulcer, and by the time I had gotten there, the flies had already started swarming. So I tell myself, I will not vomit. I will not vomit. And I get down on my knees, and I put on my gloves, and I take the cotton ball and dip it in the Dettol hot water mix, and I begin to clean out this wound. And I'm not sure that I accomplished anything, except to further the distress that my stomach was feeling from the situation. And so then, because the center of these wounds are squishy. And then when you pull the cotton ball away, the, infection, it, pulls with it, and it's just disgusting, okay? So I'm trying to maintain my composure, okay? And then I come to realize that this Tiger Plast Band-Aid that I have, it's not going to cut it. And I can't stop dabbing the wound, because every time I do that, the flies come, and they threaten to undo everything that I had worked so hard to accomplish while impressively maintaining my composure. So what I do is I holler up to the house, Jacob, who's my husband, by the way, in case you didn't know. Jacob, I need bandages. And he asks, where are they? He calls back. Where are they? Now, you don't know this, but he did. there's this broken refrigerator, and inside of it we keep all of the medical supplies. Okay, but still trying to maintain my composure. They're in the fridge. Please hurry, I insisted. Where in the fridge? I was going to vomit. I don't know, I shouted. Look around. I don't see it. Jacob, I'm going to vomit in this kid's wound. Please hurry. And so Jacob comes down, and he brings this square pad of gauze. Okay, I say, taking a few deep breaths. I'm going to need something to attach this piece of gauze to the kid's foot. Can you go get that? And so Jacob goes back on top to get that, and I swallow the indications that my stomach is about to rebel, and I take the large gauze pad and I put it on the wound so that at least I won't have to look at it anymore, right? And as I did this and I put pressure on it, it squished. So I just keep swallowing. I coached myself. Just keep swallowing. Hurry! Now I look up, and Jacob is halfway up the stairs, bent over, messing with his shoe. And I'm like, a sense of urgency, please. Now, my husband has no sense of urgency. And I understand that sometimes I need to slow down. But sometimes, in times like this, for example, Jacob needs to hurry up. The hydrochloric acid had started burning in my throat. Finally, Jacob gets down with some bandage tape, and I tape the gauze down to the kid's foot as my body begins to retch. And so I finish this, and I back away quickly, taking a few deep breaths, and think of monkey brains. Well, not so much like the texture and like visualizing monkey brains, but more thinking of the comical randomness that thinking of monkey brains provides. It's a technique I use frequently when trying to maintain my composure, like, for example, on the wedding day when Jacob was reading his vows. It's helpful. You should try it sometime. So as I resumed control over my gymnastically inclined innards, I gave a sigh of relief, and Jacob earned a short scolding on when it's appropriate to gain a sense of urgency, and indicators that this particular situation might be a time to do so, and those indicators include my tone of voice. Strained, hoarse, desperate, hop to. So I slipped off the contaminated gloves, and I properly disposed of the gloves, the dirty Dettol, and the cotton balls. And by this I mean that I threw them off the edge of the yard where the charred metal remnants of a former housing foundation kept kids from wandering over there. So it's the best that we've got. And then I went upstairs on top and got this kid some amoxicillin because he needed it. And then I went upstairs to take a rest from the very traumatic event that all of this posed to me. Ah, the life of a missionary. Beautiful tropical vistas and gaping tropical ulcers.